We're going. Here we are.
There we go. Hello, hello.
I was either going to cry or I was going to laugh uncontrollably with joy.
I'm happy
Oh, Mansour, you are so loved.
that
You are so loved. You are so loved.
thank you, Amanda.
Hmm.
Thank you for
Um,
this opportunity, Amanda. Highly appreciate it. Um, again, I mean, I really enjoyed the first time we went live together on Instagram, and I thought it would be a good opportunity for you, your audience, to to have another repeat of this experience. Alhamdulillah. This time, yes, physically I'm not in Gaza, but we can definitely talk about what's happening there and answer any questions that you may have, especially over what happened over the last few weeks.
well, first, I need to speak into you.
Yeah, sure.
Um, None of us can really fully ever, I think, grasp what you're experiencing, what you have experienced. This world, though, requires empathy in order for us to be able to come together and challenge these powers that be that continuously, work from a place of darkness and a place of spiritless and soullessness. And, what you so bravely did, but, did so from your heart was you really in such a place of sheer, I don't even know the word, sheer terror. You managed to wake so many of us up and to bring so many of us together. There are people here in this live from all over the world who did not know or understand what was taking place, and you were able to speak to them and bring so many people awareness and so many people to tap into themselves, to feel for people they don't know. And so I want to thank you so much for that. And I like to think that it was the work of your family, of your team, and also the prayers of so many of all of us, that allowed you to be here today. I've never spoken to somebody who I thought had been taken from this world. So this is a very surreal experience. I mean, people were falsely reporting your martyrdom, etc., and I never believed it. And I'm just really, really moved, and I'm really honored that you would want to come back and speak with us. And people here they really appreciate your light and your knowledge and your love. So I guess my first question would be, where do you feel like we are differently than where we were the first time we spoke? I mean, in any shape, way, or form.
That's a good question. First, from a personal perspective, I'm not physically there anymore, so that's a big difference. The second thing is, so basically, my perspective on things now. I'll give you an example. Before, when you were telling me that people were watching the news and getting depressed and not knowing what to do, I never felt that way. I watched the news while in Gaza, and I always felt that it pushed me to ensure that we do more action. We take action more, right? We try to help people more on the ground. We try to get more in touch with more news agencies and social influencers like yourselves to get the message out. But my first few days when I left Gaza and I tried to watch the news, it made me feel depressed to my core, and I couldn't even continue watching the news. I just switched off the television. Even when I went to the Al Jazeera headquarters here, the Arabic and English channels, and I tried watching the news and I was part of the news, I felt depressed to the core, seeing and listening and feeling helpless. Um, and um, and honestly, for the first time, I felt what millions of people around the world were feeling. So that's something that changed from a personal perspective, is that physically not being in Gaza anymore, it's hard to eat, it's hard to socialize, it's hard to, as you can say, embrace life, this temporary life. And you talk to people, they talk about their new cars, their what they're going to eat for the day, their careers, all perfectly normal things. But for 5 months, I lived in Gaza thinking about the hereafter, thinking about how am I going to die, and it's a very different change when it comes to perspective, from a personal level. From on the ground level, when I first talked to you, at many times, from information that was very close to people that are doing the negotiations, we thought that we were close to a ceasefire, honestly. And we never thought that the IDF would basically destroy all of Khan Yunis and enter Nasser Hospital and the four schools around us. We not even 1% did we think that would happen for many reasons. I even was supposed to welcome a Canadian doctorate delegate on February the 12th. The idea, I think, entered a couple of days ago, Nasser Hospital before that. So I was wrong, and they destroyed Khan Yunis, and they spent over 2 weeks in Nasser Hospital and did to it what they did in Ashifa, whether it be taking in most of the doctors and the nurses and the staff, whether it be killing more patients, whether it be basically bulldozing most of the facilities there. So definitely a lot has changed since we talked. I don't have, I lost all my personal belongings. I left Gaza with nothing. And two things that I really wanted to have on me was my old phone and my laptop, because that had all the information and contacts that I had. And so basically, I have to rebuild my life from scratch. And in addition to ensuring that we continue the work that we started in Gaza. And I honestly believe, Amanda, I honestly still believe, despite all the hardships, that this is all a test from God in order to make us stronger, because we are going to be the foundations to build a better future for this world. Yes, it sounds, it looks a little bit gray right now, and the news doesn't sound the best. But we are all part of God's greater plans, and we know that God loves us. So we need to remain steadfast and to continue the work we are doing, whether be it in Gaza or we are located outside of Gaza. You never know. God may utilize you to add value even more when outside of Gaza. At the end, we are all tools. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to utilize us and to continue to have our intentions purely for His sake and His sake alone. I'm not sure if I answered your question, by the way, in the way you wanted.
Mansour.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You are incredibly generous in your answer, honestly. When you say you feel like this is a test for us to rebuild, who do you consider us to be?
First of all, the people who are directly affected, those that are living inside Gaza Strip, those in the West Bank, those in the countries surrounding Palestine, like Yemen, Iraq, the Gulf region, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt. I think all of these people, especially those living in Palestine, are definitely those that, God wants to make pure and harden like a diamond. Hence, He's taking them through these tribunals, through these tests. And second, it's the mental effect that I've seen um, for people like many of our viewers that have woken up as a result of what's happening in Gaza towards the reality of this world and the double standards of some of the rules and regulations that have been implemented through organizations like the UN in order to control us. Um, I honestly believe that Gaza and Palestine are on their way to freedom. But a country like the United States, for example, they're stuck. I mean, in order for them to achieve real freedom, they have to go through so many barriers right now. But now they know, for example, that they're not free, that this two-party system is a fraud, that,
Yes.
in my opinion, a fraud.
No, it's fact. It's fact.
Yeah, yeah. So countries like Palestine right now are on the way to achieving freedom. And once we do, other people around the world in their own countries will follow similar models. And I think we will provide guidance to them on how to ensure that they survive. And people need to start, for example, in my opinion, training themselves to live through hardships, live without electricity. Try to live without certain foods, without clean water, without internet. Practice. I don't want to call it conspiracy theorists, but some people out there they try to live and try to prepare themselves for worst case scenarios, right? Right. For example, let's say, for example, like we say la samhallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not decree it, but if it happens, for example, and the World War III blows up and it's a nuclear war, like think of all the effects that can happen against people living in Europe, people living in North America, right? The effects of nuclear, electromagnetic bombs that can make go off, right? I mean, are we prepared to live in such a world? So I think it's like it's like a wake up call that things can change overnight. Trust me, the people in Gaza before October the 7th, they didn't have an amazing life, but our children went to schools, we went to
Yeah.
work, we went socializing in coffee shops, we went to the mosques, and things turned overnight.
I feel like when I've done studies around civil war and um, sieges, etc., that's what happens. It's like it literally is just like that. Like most of the reading I've done, folks say they didn't see it coming. Like they were going about their lives, and even though there was always a like possibility, things were taken in such drastic measures in such a immediate way that they had to like very quickly adjust. What do you think? What for you was the hardest thing to adjust to when? Do you hear that?
Yeah, I can. No, I
Do you
heard
hear
your
that?
question. Yes,
No, there was something like moving, and I couldn't tell if it was my side or your side.
not from my side. No.
Okay. What was the hardest thing for you to adjust to during this time in Palestine? In terms of your
Uh,
previous life? That's a dumb question. The hardest thing to adjust to is everybody dying every day. That's the hardest thing to adjust to. Bombs dropping and everybody dying every day. I just answered my own question.
no. Um, the hardest thing, in my opinion, was the uncertainty, especially in the beginning, right? Um, but then you get used to that. The second hardest thing, honestly, it's the sound of the drones. Like that's that's like real psychological warfare. I mean, the lack of sleep is tough, you know. The third thing I think can be the loss of friends and family. Someone that you meet and talk to and socialize with in the morning, and then you lose them in the afternoon, like the son of Wa'il al-Dahdouh, for example.
Hamza.
Um, I mean, the fourth thing for me was, I think, when my family decided, when we agreed, like when my wife and my children left, right, and I had to stay back. Yes, publicly and out in the open, I would try to not show my feelings. But
Mhm.
honestly, it's tough not to have your family there beside you, or you not being there with your family.
Why did you
Also,
decide to stay?
knowing that this time my wife, sorry, go ahead.
Why did you decide to stay back?
I decided to stay back because um, uh, I felt that there was a bit like, as a Muslim, okay, there are seven things that are the worst things that you can ever do, and that you will be, on the day of judgment, you will be harshly punished for doing them. And one of them is, if an enemy attacks your home area and you, in quotations, run away, right? This is one of the سبع موبقات, التولي يوم الزحف, leaving the battleground, as per se, as they say. So I felt that from a religious perspective, that, you know, I can add value and I can help in this struggle, and that on the day of judgment, if I leave with my family and I'm a capable man who can add value when it comes to the media, when it comes to the charity work, that um, I will be heavily punished. And punishments will happen to us in this life and the hereafter. So I was very careful of that. And the second reason was that, I mean, the whole world that is affected is my family, you know. Yes, my blood family is my wife, my mother, my father, my brothers, my sisters, my children. But for me, especially as men, I think we're wired to care for society, um, to care for the well-being of the community, right? So I just couldn't leave the people in the state that they were in, especially seeing the need that arose. So I think that can answer that your question there. And going back to, again, my wife and my children, it was tough because my wife, you know, even though she has university degrees, and she was like, she never really worked before, right? So she had to leave and she had to work in a foreign country in order to gain residence visa and to make sure that my kids are resident and that she provides for the family. And that was one of the reasons that also kept me hurt in the bottom of my heart, that I'm not there for my family. But at the same time, I remember that, Mansour, you are not a facilitator. You are not the one that provides sustenance to your family. God is the one that provides sustenance, not you. And that God will ensure that your family are well taken care of as long as you are doing, as you believe in your best judgment, God's work on the ground in Palestine. So those are the four things that I felt hit me really hard in Gaza after the war started.
Did you know that there were so many people um, basically unsure of your safety, like unsure of the validity of the videos, etc.? Like, did that make it back to you?
So yeah, so after, we're talking about after the first time, the first 2 weeks, right? After
Yes.
I came back with the video in front of Nasser Hospital. So honestly, so the first video, Amanda, I took a selfie. I held the phone with my hand, and I spoke for 5 minutes in the vertical mode in front of Nasser Hospital. I just talked about, you know, what our mission was, what we did in Gaza over the past few weeks, and what happened to me at a very high level, why I didn't have access to my phone, why I didn't connect with people. And I thanked the team and I thanked everyone for their support and for work to continue even during my absence. I thought that this video, this message would help comfort people in general about what happened to me, and that the work will continue, and that we're back to doing what we used to do. But I saw some noise about that video, talking about it, how it's a green
I
background or
really
green
thought that was
screen.
a green screen. This video looked
I,
like a green screen.
I don't blame anyone. No, it's okay. It's okay. But I'm telling you exactly what happened. I was in front of Nasser Hospital. I held the phone with my hand, and I just spoke, and I did what I did every day before I was away from Khan Yunis. I didn't do anything different. So I don't know why it appeared as if it's a green screen to some people. But I don't blame them, because when someone gets lost or missing for 2 weeks, then many thoughts would come to the back of someone's mind, especially against an enemy as immoral as the IDF, right? So again, I don't blame anyone. And I'm reaching out openly to anyone who had thought that way and now changed their mind, that look, it's okay, we all can make mistakes, and I love you all, feel free to get back in touch if you wish, like, honestly.
Well, thank you.
there's there's
I
no
definitely,
there's nothing there's
I
sorry, go
will
ahead.
take accountability that I made a mistake in my assessment. I will tell you, these people are so wicked and have extended their technology in such dubious ways, that you start to feel like there's no end, there's no limit to what they will do to bend the truth to their will.
Yes.
And so many of us, really, and they're not going to stop.
Yes. So that's the first thing I did, and then my team. So I did this video without getting back to my team. By the way, that's a mistake I did. I didn't tell my team that. I told them I'm going to make a video to update the everyone, but I didn't get back to them to the contents of that video before posting it. So I didn't have an understanding of what happened over the last 2 weeks in the social media behind the scenes, because I was so excited to get back to everyone, telling them that I'm okay, the work will continue, because my focus is the work needs to continue. We need to continue to help the people on the ground. We need to continue to get in touch with the media, right? So after that, I had a call with the team, and they said, Mansour, you have no idea what happened over the last 2 weeks. It went all the way up to Justin Trudeau, and the whole world literally was talking about it. I'm like, really, guys? Did all this happen? They said, yes. So they asked me to, basically, they prepared a statement for me to read out to Justin Trudeau, to Melanie Joy, thanking many MPs, thanking many organizations for their support, thanking you for your support, the public, right? And asking the Canadian government for a ceasefire, asking them to, return the funding to UNRWA, because they felt that we need to make amends, especially with the Canadian government, because they were put under so much pressure, because everyone believed that I was with the IDF, basically, and they had spent a lot of effort trying to release me from an IDF, which I was never there with, right? So I read that statement, and I took a picture in front of Nasser Hospital, and I used that picture, and I read that statement, and I was told after that even more people started doubting. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? I'm like, okay, let's just go back to work.
I remember
right?
you laughing in this video. You were in this. Go ahead. Sorry. I remember you laughing like, I'm really having to do this video. Like, that's the laugh that you did. And am I right?
That's the fourth video. That's the fourth video. No, I'm not talking about the third one. The third one is where I distributed 10,000 shekels, when I distributed cash donations to people in Nasser Hospital. So to show them that work is continuing and that I'm walking around Nasser Hospital. But even then, after that, the team told me that some people think that the IDF is forcing you to still do that so that you can show that things are normal. So I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what to do. So someone told me, okay, just go live. I'm like, yeah, but it's dangerous. Like, just go live. I'm like, okay, I'll go live, no problem. So I showed the live for a few minutes, for maybe 10 minutes, on the top of the stairs in Nasser Hospital, showing from where I normally upload videos, from where I normally reply to people, right? Um, and again, just to try to calm some of the people down who thought that this wasn't real. And since that time, that area became not a safe place to work from anymore, because at the evening of that day and the day after, snipers were shooting and drones were heavily involved as well. There were 2 martyrs, there were 6 that were injured. Also, some hospital nurses were also injured. So it was not safe anymore to go and use the internet. So since that live on Instagram, I had to go offline. But I thought that it was going to be, because like I said, we never thought that they would come to Nasser Hospital. And the IDF continually communicated with the hospital director, telling them that, why are you guys afraid? In front of me, they were talking, like, why are you guys afraid? Nasser Hospital is safe. The schools around you are safe. You guys, and there's a Canadian delegation coming to you in 2 days. So don't worry, everything's okay. So we really thought that it's going to be business as usual, but we needed to be patient before coming back to the internet. And we were surprised and shocked that during sunrise prayers, we heard people shouting, they're bulldozing the front gates. And to our surprise, we saw tanks, and we saw this huge D-19 bulldozer just going through the gates and going through the walls as if it was knife through butter, like just bringing everything down. So quickly, I go into survival mode, and I hide my phones and my laptop in somewhere in the hospital, and my belongings. And together with other people, people who work with me in the charity line of work, we basically went through the sides of the walls of the hospitals. We jumped over the walls, and we went inside some of the homes that were empty. And that's when the second part started of me not being around.
I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing with us, but people are asking if you can talk to, where you were those first 2 weeks. I know that you did this on Instagram.
Of course. So the first 2 weeks, I remember touching on that in the video I did when I returned back to Nasser Hospital. We were building a tent city in the western part of Khan Yunis, beside Al Mawasi, so beside the beach area. And we've almost completed 30 tents, and we started making the foundations to build over 100 tents there, with the sponsorship of many people and organizations around the world. So our work usually started after sunrise prayer. We would then go and start either going to farms or going to see some cattle, or to meet some businessmen, tradesmen. This time we went to Tent City in the west to check on the progress of the work there. And to our surprise, before we reached there, we were surprised to hear and see people shouting, the Israeli army has basically taken over the whole area. And the army basically made, during that morning, 180-degree roundabout around Khan Yunis from the south, coming from the east to the west. And this is something that no one foresaw. We were thinking that they are going to leave Khan Yunis, but instead they decided to come into Khan Yunis as well from the western side. Again, this shows that I'm no military analyst. I'm terrible at this. So basically, you're surprised, you're shocked to see tanks firing. The sea warships are also firing. You see snipers going up to the high-rise buildings. Like it's a takeover of the west part of Khan Yunis, where Tent
Okay.
City was, and we basically, it's a few kilometers away from Nasser Hospital now, right? And we were walking there, and we had to stay away from the main road. So we basically went and rushed into the first house that we can find in Khan Yunis. And that's when all the drama started, because we tried to find a way back into Nasser Hospital, but it was also the start of a new operation by the Israeli military to take over Western Khan Yunis, or the Khan Yunis camp. It's called the Khan Yunis refugee camp. Sorry.
Yes.
So basically, we were in the middle of a war and we were trying to get out. And we had to go from house to house every day, every night, trying to avoid the sight of drones, trying to avoid special forces, trying to avoid tanks, trying to avoid like it was an adventure, right? And at that time, all the houses were evacuated, and people were going through checkpoints. Many were killed, many were taken into custody, and we never wanted to, even for 1 second, take a chance with checkpoints, right? Like, people who know me know that I know it's easy to say it once I'm out, but I would rather die rather than take the risk of being taken into custody. So yeah, we were just moving from house to house. Sometimes we would sit in houses that are damaged. Sometimes we would sit in houses that are fully up, up and running. And if we were to eat food from that house, we would leave some cash. We would leave later some notes thanking the people,
Would people
asking for the
be in the
forgiveness.
house? Would
Sorry?
people be in these? Would people be in these
No,
houses?
no. No, at that time, most of the civilians would have emptied the houses. There were a couple of houses where the people welcomed us into their homes. But most of the people left Khan Yunis at that point. It was a shock. People didn't see it coming. There was no warning to what has happened. And
When
by the way, just something important for your viewers to note. Yeah, they say that there's tunnels all around Gaza Strip, right? That's 80% true, because some areas, the soil, the ground itself does not
yes,
support the construction of tunnels. That's not, and West Khan Yunis is one of that. And if you're not officially part of the H group, you don't even have access to these tunnels. So I never entered into a tunnel, thank God. I was always above the ground. So just for your information, there are no tunnels in the western part of Khan Yunis, because the soil there doesn't support the building of tunnels. Things would just collapse on them. I'm not a
right.
I'm not a geological engineer or anything,
Geologist.
but that's my understanding.
Um, the last time you were missing, the word that had spread was that you had been in a house that had, or in a structure that had collapsed. Is there any truth to that?
I was never in a building that was directly hit by an F-16 fighter jet. So, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, it depends how you look at it, that was a wrongly mentioned rumor.
Good. When you said that you would rather die than be detained,
Yes.
why do you feel that way?
Because I was detained before by the Israelis in 2009 when I was in Jerusalem. And I suffered for 2 months under what they call the administrative imprisonment, where they, for any reason, they can take you for up to 6 months without presenting any evidence to the court. So I went through solitary confinement. I went through physical and very heavy mental torture. I was also placed in in open prisons I was forced to take off all my clothes. So going through that experience, trust me, you would never want to go through that again.
How do you come back from that? Was your faith strengthened after that? Like what was the methods that you took to
Yeah.
rebuild
In
after that? And now
2009, you mean? Okay.
yes.
I'll be honest with you that it was very tough. I was much younger at that time, less experience in life, and they shocked me when they took me in because I had spent Eid with my family in Jerusalem, and they took me in when I was about to leave back to Jordan. So when I was about to cross the border, just when I was about to cross the border,
Oh.
the military came and took me in. So they were like, they wanted to provide that shock aspect as well. They said that you're detained under the administrative ruling, blah, blah, blah. What did I do? Just come with us. So how did I survive after that? Uh, I'll be honest, it was tough. I didn't go to see a psychologist after that, for example, but I had very good friends that helped me. My company as well. I worked with Procter and Gamble at that time. They were really supportive of me at that time. They gave me some time off, and the mentors and managers there helped me a lot. I spoke to people who had gone through imprisonment, and they also gave me some advice on how to deal with the trauma following all that. So definitely family also helped. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
So here we are now, and when I know that so many of us in the comments look at America's role in what's taking place, and we ask ourselves, how can we be a part of a country that is so duplicitous? Where do you feel like the next, what do I want to ask? Where do we go from here? In the past, like, I feel like you've always been this, you've always like spoken into the people, but I genuinely, I feel like so many people are at their wits' end, at our wits' end, in terms of not being able to stop what is happening.
Yes. Again, it's very important first to note that the Palestinian people understand that most Americans are not being represented properly by their government. That's very important to note. So when I now talk about the United States, I'm not talking about the people, I'm talking about the administration, I'm talking about the government, I'm talking about the people running, running things behind the scenes. I think that America is a nation on its way to decline when it comes to its political, economic, and military authority in the world. And the United States needs to learn from history and see that no nation can continue to have a monopoly on how things run in this world, the way the United States has since the end of the Second World War. And unfortunately, I think that unless there's a drastic change in how they are acting when it comes especially to the Palestinian conflict, I think that God will punish the United States. in some way or another. How, when, who, I don't know. But history teaches us that something that in the Quran there's a verse that says وَتِلْكَ الْأَيَّامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ, that that over the course of days, some nations will rise, some nations will fall. This is normal. This is how the cycle of life happens. And
Right.
if I was a United States advisor to the administration, I'm going to say, look, guys, we need to keep ties with these Palestinians, because we need to keep ties with these people, because things might change, right? They might win this, and that this might change the course of the socio political geography in the area. But it seems that for some reason the Zionist agenda and end of times agenda and the theological aspect of things has so much overtaken the rulers of the United States that
Yes.
that that in my opinion something will happen there that will force the United States to stop supporting Israel and maybe internally start to collapse. Again, I don't know how. I don't know. I have a few theories, but this is how I see things happening right now. If I was a United States citizen, my suggestion would you, again, but because I care for you, I'm gonna say this. My first advice is to think about yourself. Think about why you are living in this world. Think, what does all of this mean? And once you find an answer to that, make a decision on what you want to do in this life, and make a decision of whether it makes sense to remain in the United States and to continue to be a taxpayer, as you do not want to be a part of a regime indirectly or directly that is negatively affecting not only Palestine but the whole world. America is, I think, the biggest superpower that ever occurred in this world. I don't think that there's been a country, even more than the United Kingdom, that at one point was Great Britain, sorry, that took over the whole world and was a nation that the sun never went down on, right?
Right.
I don't think from a military perspective, a political perspective, social perspective, there's been a country like the United States. And I think that I would like to be part of that country anymore. And I would look for options to maybe leave that country, or at least be a part of a people that are willing to work towards a better United States or a better state or a better city, and work together once things start to collapse. Um, I think you can see evidence of that collapse all around you, Amanda. But again, I feel so bad for the citizens, the good citizens of the United States, and I'm giving this advice from my heart. Like, again, no, take it with a pinch of salt at the end. That's what's in the back of my mind right now.
Was that mindset different before October 7th? Did you view America
No,
differently before October 7th?
no, because unfortunately, America, um, since I was born until now, has always had negative uh, political, military repercussions against Palestinians, against Arabs, against Muslims, against the weak people of this world. Uh, their economics, their military complex always, thought of profit over human beings. Look what they did in many areas in the world. Like, whoever doesn't submit to the American politics gets crushed from a social perspective or a military perspective.
Yeah.
So no, October 7th definitely helped to show the whole world the American role. But for many people out there who watch the American politics and economical policies across the world, they could see through it from that time.
How has Canada, if at all, been responsive to you being out of Gaza?
Canada had one question for me. They asked me, Mansour, we just want you to answer one question for us. I'm like, sure. Were you at any point captured by the IDF? Because we were communicating with them and they wouldn't get back to us. And at one point they told us we're not aware that we have someone by that name in our custody. So I told them yes. In that circumstance, they said the truth. I was never under their custody. They said that's all we want to know, because we want to make sure that they're not lying to us. They were also, before leaving Gaza, they were on a continuous basis since November the 7th until I left, every day or two sending me a WhatsApp message saying, when are you ready to leave? When are you ready to leave? When are you ready to leave? And I kept telling them, look, sorry, not now, but keep my name at the border, you know? Like
This
when
is
the
the
time
State
is right.
Department?
That's the Foreign Affairs Canada. And then later on, the Consulate of Ramallah, Consulate in the West Bank of Canada.
Why were they contacting you directly? Were they doing that with all
Because,
Canadian citizens?
so my name was approved to leave. My name was at the border. It was of their best interest for all Canadians to leave, in my opinion, because they don't want their citizens to be trapped in the war.
Right.
But I believe that there are many Canadians who are not able to leave Gaza. And I think the main reason for that is because the Israeli government hasn't provided the security approval for them to leave. One reason may be that they think that those families are, for example, part of the H group, right? Which might be wrong, by the way, but they might have some evidence. So one of the points also raised, I think, that Mansour is working with the H group. If the IDF, even for 1 second, had any proof that I was working with them, I wouldn't have been given the approval to leave Gaza. Trust me. So
Right.
so that's another rebuttal to another, I think, statement.
Are you pleased with how Canada has operated with you during this terrible time?
With Mansour, they helped me cross the Rafah border, and they helped me. They provided accommodation for me in Egypt during the 72-hour visa, which I got. And within 24 hours, they had issued me a temporary passport because my passport was almost about to expire. So again, we need to thank the people when they do the right thing, the good things. So I have to thank them for their support. But I must say that I'm deeply disappointed by their foreign affairs policy, by many things that they've done in this conflict. They were in no way a neutral country. They were very, very pro-Zionist, very pro-Israeli. And I was shocked when they talked about sending a few hundred soldiers to support the logistical work on the ground. I was shocked to hear at the beginning when they decided to remove funding from UNRWA. I know that they returned back the funding a couple of days back. But again, why would they even do that in the first place, right? And I even spoke informally to people working with the Canadian consulate, and they were in a way dismayed by some of the decisions that the Canadian government was taking, because they were saying that we're trying to like tell people about democracy and human rights and women's rights and youth rights, especially in regions like Egypt and Lebanon and Jordan and before in Palestine. But now, all of the groups that we were supporting are telling us, how can we now lecture people about any of this while we're not practicing what we preached in Palestine? So they felt that the progress, in quotations, that they did in trying to brainwash, in quotations, the people in the region has gone miles and years back, and that people won't buy anymore a lot of the ideologies that they're trying to teach us here.
I mean, so I'll wrap this up. I know you have a lot going on, and it's late there. Have you connected with Wael or Motaz or? I mean, I think I saw a picture, but is there any support you all can offer each other, because you are in a very similar mind state? And I know so many of you, I mean, so many of us learned what's going on directly from you all, and now you're removed. That must be very surreal.
Yes, I'm very close to Uncle Wael. We lived together in the same vicinity for many months, and I visited him 2 days after I arrived here in Doha, uh, in his hotel room. Um, he's basically getting a lot of treatment, especially on his right hand. The main nerve, which helps him move his hand, is severely injured. He might lose mobility in that right hand. Hopefully, with the treatment that he's getting, he will get better. Um, to you, Mu'taz, I never met him in person. I never spoke to him over social media. I mean, when he was in Gaza, he was located in the middle area, in the middle region. I was located in Khan Yunis, in the southern region. So unlike many other journalists that I met, I never met Mu'taz. However, I do respect him. I respect his work, and I think that all of us, at the end, uh, bring our own perspective and our own strengths into this line of work, which we tried to do when we were in Gaza, and we'll continue to do that outside of Gaza, inshallah.
I guess my last question is, what do you, how do you spend your day?
So before the war started, Amanda, um, I was working online, right? I had contract jobs online. I was I was running the contracts and procurement unit for an international company, and then I worked at an oil and gas company online. And then before October the 7th, I accepted a job offer with a consulting firm in Qatar, and I was going to join them in the middle of October. But when the war started on October the 7th, I kept postponing the joining date to this consulting firm. And I kept doing that for 5 months. When I left Gaza, I contacted them. I told them, hey, I'm available now. So I basically started the job 4 days ago here at the consulting firm. So I spend my morning, my afternoon there. Yes, yes. And yeah. And and, and during the whenever possible, I connect with the people I have on the ground in Gaza to ensure that our charity projects continue. Like every day now, we have at least 2 to 3 videos coming in of the work that's being done there. Um, I'm doing a lot of TV appearances. I'm making a lot of connections with a lot of media people here in Qatar. I appeared yesterday on Russia Today, or sorry, today on Russia Today. I'm gonna send over the interview tomorrow. I did my first live yesterday with Noha on TikTok. Today with you, my first ever YouTube live. I did a live on Al Jazeera a few days back. I'm doing one tomorrow as well in their studios. So the work that I've been doing in Gaza
Yeah.
will be replicated outside of Gaza, hopefully in a more um, wider geography.
Yeah.
I'm planning to go on a few events during the weekends, during the Eid vacations, maybe, again, not confirmed, in the UK, in Canada, over the next few weeks. Hopefully, my next visit will be in the United States after that. But again, it has to be around my job. And the most important thing which I've done as well is connect physically with my like my mother, my wife. I haven't still seen my children physically, but um, it's very important. I think that I try to help them as well and support them get back on their feet because they've been through a lot over the last few months. And as a husband, as a father, as a son, I also have responsibilities, and I need to make sure that I try my best to do them from always, not only providing financially, but from always. And because again, this is a responsibility that I'm going to be asked about on the day of judgment as well. So that's what my day looks like. And in addition to that, I have to try to focus on eating the right food, slowly increase its quantity every day, exercise properly. Ramadan is coming in a couple of days, so that's something positive. Very spiritual month.
Are
So
you going to
we're,
fast?
of course.
Well, don't say of course. I
And
mean, you've basically been in a forced fast. Fast how many?
exactly, I practiced for many months. I
Okay.
strongly recommend anyone who isn't Muslim even just to try, give it a try, give fasting a try. Like speak to your fellow Muslim friends and try it out with them, right? Enjoy suhoor, enjoy iftar, go visit a masjid, a mosque, take an opportunity to read a copy of the Quran. Ramadan is a very spiritual month. We believe that in the month of Ramadan, it's easier to do a lot of good deeds. It's easier to conduct a lot of prayers because we believe that during Ramadan, the jinn devils, are basically tied up. They aren't there to whisper in your ears to do any bad deeds anymore, right? So any bad deeds that you do comes from your own nafs, from your own from your own, not
Yeah.
from the whispering
Outside
of
forces.
outside. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Ramadan definitely.
Is there anything we can do to help in the rebuilding of your life?
I think let's be patient and see where things are going when it comes to the political landscape. We were hoping for a ceasefire in Ramadan. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. If it does happen, then definitely there will be rebuilding efforts. If not, we need to continue to support the people on the ground through ways and sources that we trust. Again, please make sure when you donate, make sure that it's the right person on the ground in Gaza, through people that you trust, through family members of that person. Unfortunately, a lot of people are using Gaza as a way to scam people, as a way to make easy money. Please make sure that we do not fall through any of these scams. And neither myself or my team will never, ever reach out to you asking for donations. For the record, we will never reach out to you to ask for donations.
So y'all hear that. So remember, you see that it's not accurate. So just know that. Mansour, is there anything that you'd like to say to these 1,000 people that are joining us here in the live and on Instagram Live that you haven't said yet?
No, first of all, I need to thank you, Amanda, for this opportunity. Um, uh, and um, and I want to thank everyone for being with us this hour. My apologies if I didn't answer some of your questions. There are future lives that I'm going to do on Instagram, on other platforms. Hopefully, I can answer your questions there and then. Definitely, Amanda, let's connect again to get maybe to learn more about Amanda, on another life, on your future plan, right?
Yes. Let me tell you, when I saw that picture of you with your mother, I was like, where is he? I'll get on a plane. I just, I've never had a parasocial relationship with anyone. This is the first. I feel like I know you and feel so connected to you, and I want to continue to be someone who's elevating, your work and also the work of others in Gaza. I've even learned how to properly pronounce Gaza, and or at least I try. and I really when I got your DM today, I literally ran. I ran. Let me tell you, the other day I was at an event and they said the vice president wants to meet you. And I was like, okay. And they were like, can you run? And I said, no, I will walk briskly, but I will not run. Today, I had to get into proper Wi-Fi to do this Instagram. They were like, ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm like, I'm doing it live. If you saw me earlier, I was flushed. I was sweating. So highly respect you, Mansour. And I really appreciate all of you all in the middle of a Saturday saying this is something that we need to be present for. Your numbers and your energy are felt. And thank you to Shadi, who was also a voice of reason and clarity when people were out here talking crazy. And we will definitely connect offline, Mansour. And again, so happy to see you here living and breathing with us and smiling.
Thank you so much, Amanda, for this opportunity. And please, let's stay in touch. Definitely.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Y'all know what to do. Hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share this, follow Mansour Shouman. Mansour, what is your Instagram? It's Mansour Shouman 7.
Yeah, Mansour Shouman 7.
Okay, so you can follow Mansour at Mansour Shouman 7, and as he said, the work will continue. Inshallah.
Okay. Ramadan Mubarak, and inshallah we'll meet again soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Amanda.